that change is providing. I'm not here going to discuss the political movements or the socio-economic conditions in these countries. However, present to you Mann India's investment plan as a private sector with the background of these two countries in mind. Why is it that we decided to grab the tiger by the tail and ride the emerging market when it was easier to do business or settle down in a place like Boston than, say, Bombay, if you've all been to India, or a similarity of Caracas? My answer is because the medium and the long-term emerging markets do, in fact, emerge. If the technology boom was the growth in India, for instance, in the 1980s and the 1990s, Indian companies like ours were able to do well to prove the growth story. And as in the case for most of us, the roller coaster ride is a lot more fun than the merry-go-round of a mature market. In the key emerging growth rates have remained high or have been accelerated. In the 1960s, China grew at an average rate of 5.2% in comparison to India at a 3.4%. However, today, you would find China at a growth rate of 10.3%, but India following close at 10%. In general, the growth rates of mature markets in comparison have been rather stagnant, and I think this has been seen in Mr. Nelson's presentation, where he showed us that by investing 1,000 rupees in an emerging market, the return on investment would be a lot higher. So our first step forward was that we were able to understand that business could not be done long distance. And in a short term of 7 years today, we have been able to provide state-of-the-art solutions and had differential compounded growth. And I think that's a key term here for us, because that's the euphoria that sets you going or wants you to drive towards an emerging market. So the most important things for us were investment of time, and money, money, money. And I repeat these words because it takes the first 2 years before we could actually make a big breakthrough. So in addition to patience, it requires tremendous amount of vision and ability to hang on. In the first 2 years, just like the others predicted, we did not get paid. Our employee took to drugs, the ones who were placed at the client site. Our product was copied. A partner sold our product with a different name. So we had a tough time. And this, of course, made a lot of our partners in India and our clients in Europe often ask us, how do you have the patience to work in this market? Isn't it crazy? What really sets this market as being different? And our answer has always been that for substantial change, you have to be able to take on a certain level of risk. So higher the risk, the higher the return. I would here like to really talk about the business models that Mann India has adopted. I'm going ahead. The first very critical model is that we looked at value-added or mid-size large channel partners and we were aggressive in convincing them that we were not competing with them in the local market, but only ensuring that at the back end they had the pulley of service offerings and products that we could provide them. The advantage with that was that we, as an Indian company, had seen the evolution of IT in India and were able to mobilize, or rather were able to use and learn from mistakes that other Indian companies in India had committed. And therefore it is that when we came to Latin America, we were able to give all our partners the support, the guidance, the products that would sell, some key indicators of where IT would head. We were able to give a very broad overview to what the next steps of growth would be. However, this was not really a very easy thing to do because most of the software companies here in Latin America are North American driven, which means that they are more concentrated on brands. So you could sell a Microsoft, you could sell SAP, but it would be very hard to sell a brand that North America was not branding. So the first challenge for us lay in ensuring that we convince the client that it wasn't, or a customer or a partner, that it wasn't important to fit yourself into an already prepared boot, but to prepare a boot size that fit you. Most of the companies here, if you would notice, the average revenue base would be about 20 million. And the reason for that was this, that they would not want to move out of the box and sell brands that were not known in the market. In addition to, of course, the fact that they had a brand phobia, they also were very, there are two things here. First, the price. The price of the product automatically was very, very expensive. And yet we continue. All of us here in this room, I don't know how many of you are technology-driven or work in the technology sector, you would find that a lot of Latin America is willing to spend on very large or high-end solutions at a very high price. But they're not able to take the risk and say, let's invest in a product that's maybe not so well known, but that'll ensure it operates the business that you have in hand. For instance, SAP, which would be a key. If you went into Panama and you went into the Cologne Free Zone, you would find in most of the retail outlets, you would have branded solutions. So that was the first product market constraint that we faced and we had to overcome. Of course, the speed of penetration in this was slow. Our second model was that we tied up with dynamic resources who could work out of the box, who could think out of the box. They were from the top positions in the jobs and were able to actively convince customers about the advantages that we had in working with lower costing innovative vendors. And with this, we crossed the barrier of being a foreign company. Our technology and application strategy was based on the fact that even though industries such as banking, retail, were all very well developed, yet their IT roadmap were based on old systems and legacy platforms. Thus, we at Mann India introduced to this market the need and demand for IT modernization. We convinced clients that their cost of operations could be reduced when expenses on information technology is reduced. In addition, this provided other advantages, such as the knowledge and synergy between the evolutionary path of IT in India and the product or service sector were very well presented to the client in terms of earlier case studies, in terms of methodologies. For instance, even in the current Siri conversion project, it was because we have had tremendous experience in working with similar projects across the world that when we came here to Venezuela, we were able to provide the right perspective, the right solution, an effective solution for the client.